I'll do a little bit of introduction, ask a couple of questions, and we're going to roll into this wonderful game. Okay? So, my name is Josh Furrate. I am the lead instructor at Knocker Ice Historical Fencing. I have been doing this since 2014, got extremely heavy into it in 16. There ain't really any place in North America and Central America I haven't been to, and parts of Europe as well, and aiming to make it to Australia, mainstream Asia, South America, South Africa, within the next couple of years. So I can say I fought in every continent but Antarctica, and I'm going to steal somebody and we're going to go do it. Right.
Are you sort of take a point or
Right. No, I don't. That's where we test sharps, baby. So, that being said, I am a huge passionate person about KDF in general. So, Ansetzen, if you're a purist, I also work in that direction as well. I love the German system of longsword. I work with anything from MS-3227A all the way to Meyer and beyond in that general scope of our history. I look at the system overall, not generally just a singular component, right? I like to see evolutions and growths. So before I go really too far into the class, I have a couple of questions. How many people here have been doing this less than 2 years? All right, cool. How many people have, Keith, I will slap you.
please?
All right. How many people here have ever done tournaments?
Never done or had done?
Have done.
Have done.
I bet you better raise your hand. We had enough fun.
Texas was a hell of a trip.
Texas, it was like winter rain.
I didn't fight there. Last years, I went fighting.
No, the last time I was there was when we fought.
Oh,
You
well,
threw me.
I did?
Yes.
That does sound like me.
Yes. God damn it, Neil. You need better head protection, son.
Absolutely not. It's the hardest part of my head. It's spinning.
No, I don't know. I recall it not working too well for you. Anyway, so a lot of this is gauged towards like tournament ideas and settings, but it's also just based off of good fencing, right? So, I'm going to do a little bit of a little trickle down of how I like to run my class, and we'll go into details, okay? So number one, do the introduction. Number two, I'm really going to ask a couple of quick questions to people what they're aiming to do. 3, we'll get into the drills. I don't care if we only get through one drill in the time we have, y'all. I want y'all to get what y'all are getting out of this period, okay? This is y'all's time, not me just standing up here jibber-jabbing the whole time, right? Like I can go on this stuff for 8 straight hours, I promise you. We're gonna get as far as y'all are good to go with, and that's what I want it to be, okay? 2, at the end of class, I always do a circle up. Everyone gives me a positive and negative feedback, because again, this is y'all's class. I'm just here spreading information. If y'all didn't get shit from it, and if you haven't guessed, I'm a pretty blunt individual, then was it worth your time? So y'all help me be a better instructor by giving me positive feedback of what I did good, giving me negative feedback of what I could do better. Does that make sense? Kind of the way I like to do things. There's no ego in this circle. Like, this is how we run. This is how I've been doing it since I've been teaching since 2016. So, like, it's how we roll with it. So, we're gonna kind of run through everybody real fast on a quick question of what are you aiming for? What's your goals for this class? Close distance better? Goals. Learn how to do it better.
Just improve my technique.
Improve technique.
Get more offensive.
More offensive. Good.
Judge when I can go forward or back.
Good.
I'm just trying to figure out what this class is about. I know it's longsword something. I don't know.
Stabbing them safely.
Doing that without being stabbed back at the same time.
Perfect. You're gonna love this class.
Basically the same.
Same.
And just learning the history too.
Perfect.
Historical context helps.
Good. John.
Not just hanging out after I stab him.
Good. Monsieur?
Better technique.
Better technique?
I want to walk away learning something.
Awesome. Mike, say something.
Not double.
That's a good answer.
We like that. We like that for you.
Good job.
Prevent myself from getting stabbed.
How to prevent yourself from getting stabbed. Good. Measure.
I want to hurt someone without getting hurt.
Good answer.
It's bedtime.
Footwork. I love this answer. Better trigger finger.
I don't think it's not to double, but also teach better.
Hit without being hit. The science of boxing, fencing, and all combat arts if it's done right. Right? Awesome. So, good. So this also gives me a bit of credentials to kind of understand for the individual level. I will try my best to remember these details and work in those things, right? But we do cover a lot of things. So I'm now going to talk real fast about the history idea of what we're working with, And then we're going to get into some footwork patterns to get us started, because those will build into the drills, and I'd rather you do footwork separate than the sword work. Because if you're trying to pay attention to this and this, you all just do this. And then you get stabbed a lot. It's good for me when I fight you, not good for you for learning, right? So, that being said, continue into it. Absetzen and Ansetzen, right? So Absetzen, in the concept of what we're talking about, is all about covering and then thrusting out, right? A lot of people like to think of this as a single time counter. Johan, come be my friend for a second. Like a lot of people like to think about that I'm set up in this position, Johan comes at me with a thrust and I just stab him straight back. And that's everything we think it is. But in the essence of what we're really trying to see about this is I'm opening up an opening, he comes at me, I'm covering, and then I'm working in. It is generally always should be in the beginning a 2-tempo action or a 2-step action, because are you good at it yet? No, right? Are anybody really good at this one yet, or we wouldn't be doing the class, right? Breaking it down to a 2-step action makes it to where you can learn to be fluidic and faster and better. It is okay to take more steps to get something right than it is to try and hurry up and be as fast as counter tempo as it is. Because if your only successful thrust are Hail Marys and you're like not sure if you're going to get it or not, we've lost context, right? Absetzen is also the version of doing this in a defensive measure, right? So Johan is engaging. So a lot of times I have an opening, he throws something, I'm covering and I'm stabbing, right? It is more of I'm in the knot, I am receiving, I'm provoking with the body for him to come and then taking and hitting, okay? Whereas Ansetzen, Johan has a point in a general direction, he tries to retract that point, I'm stabbing and covering where he was going. So in essence, they're very much so the same things, reverse the order. One, I cover, then stab you. The other, I stab, then cover. Does that make sense to everybody? So that is the historical context. When they're teaching it to you, we understand in our reading early KDF, doing Versetzen, right? So doing like your Zornhaus, your Krumphaus, your Schielhaus, these are all acting in that same fashion. You're just coming from a strike pattern, not from a point forward pattern, right? So for essence, Johan throws a cut at me, I crump it out, right? To stab him back, I have to wind back over for cover and then stab. So Absetzen is incorporated in with the Krumphaus. You do the Versetzen to get protected, wind to cover, then stab it, right? Essence of Zornhau comes out with this too, in the place. He cuts at me, I Zorn, then I shoot. So that's the Ansetzen, right? Setting off, setting on, these are these two things. I can't set on unless he's retracting or I have control. And I can't, that's where this kind of comes out. Is that making sense to everybody so far? Is everybody feeling good with what we're seeing? Anybody have questions on the descriptions of what we're working with? No? Feel pretty comfortable with that? Okay, so real quick, what we're all going to do, we're all going to line up on this blue line. We're going to put our swords down for a split second. So just put them behind you over here. We're going to do some footwork patterns, and then we're going to do some sword work.
Are you over here for this time?
You don't have to. Mask, gorget, gloves if you want them. I just recommend that. Alright, so give yourself some space on the blue line, spread out a little bit. We're going to go over a couple of things. I work footwork a lot in my house, in my club, and pretty much all throughout my life. Footwork is everything. So we're going to go over a couple of descriptions of what we're aiming for specifically to this drill. Number one, we're going to do our cheat sheet to get into our stance. We're all going to be standing feet shoulder width apart. Make sure you start off there. Shoulder blades are pulled down. Not trying to force your shoulders back. Pull the blades down and be in a nice comfortable position. Take the hands, chop the hips like you're getting ready to sit down. Whatever is your dominant hand, so if you're right-handed, right leg, your left-handed, left leg, push it back to where you're still squared up, not bladed, squared up and bring that back. You can also rotate heel, toe, that should get you a general average point You should feel kind of 50-50, 60-40 is good, because I can kind of rock while still standing up. This is the goal. I don't want to be here for this moment, I want to be up for this moment over my hips. That's kind of an important factor, okay? First one we're going to do real fast is what we like to call secret in the club, and it's just a nice little particular pass. I'm going to take this foot, I'm going to bring it forward as much as I can, like I had that gangster walk, and then lunge forward. Boom, 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 boom. And you can do it backwards, same thing. If you have injuries or issues, don't push it too far. Go to what this is comfortable to reach and slowly work it over time. Just come forward to this blue line, go backwards, swap knees, and we'll do it again. Sit down into it. There you go, Josh. Right? See how you can see how I can just make this where I just like glide? That's what you're aiming for. Try to make it a glide. Don't think about the bounce, just walk. There you go. There you go. See how that moves? See how you kind of gather up the launch wherever you want? That's the training. No problem. There you go, Mike. Moving back. So when I'm going backwards with it, down here. Yeah, this is the third time now. Just walk it back. Right? Don't stress about being perfect, just worry about you're trying to make the goal and you're just walking. With like that gangster lean. Does that make sense? It helps for you just kind of like got that, you're going like I got a bad hip, but I'm moving. Alright, once they get back to the back, we'll go to the next piece. Looking awesome. Beautiful. Alright, next piece that we're going to work into, we're going to work on doing transverse pieces. So this is generally what I like to think about when I'm doing Zorns or defensive cuts or a lot of actions. So again, we're back into our general stance. Weight is going to shift slightly to the front legs. We're pushing a little bit more like 60 to 70 here. You're going to push off, aim to go out in a slight turn. Boom, boom. So if you notice, if I put my hands out here, notice I'm just shifting over this center line by a bit. I'm not doing a lot of work here. Okay? This doesn't need to be this big action. Right? Start small, get small right, build up to big. So if you can't have a line in front of you, work on it. If you need to, put your hands, put a hand, that's your center line to see it, you're redirecting. Right? Slowly but surely, make it through. Right? So, Misha, on this line. Right? So we're both going to go off the line. So, there you go. That's that right for that. Let's step it off. See, like you have to be ready. Come out of the ring. Boom. See how a little more steer. We're finishing. I'm pushing hands along. Are you moving? No. Push back. Push. Here you go. Your hips aren't in a line behind you. Physics are basic though. So transversely going backwards. Good question. So I'll show it from here. Set up. Carefully move laterally. Spin it out. Backward move. Finish. Backward steps. Finish. Boom, 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 boom. It's just like doing an ice skate, right? It's all about getting the groove, getting the dance on. The reason why most of them are once they finish, get back to the blue line, hang tight, that's the next piece. Excellent. So, big notion too is not every time would you be doing this like in a row in a fight. but because we're drilling it, you're doing it in a row, so it will feel awkward. It's half the point. Feel awkward now. That way, when you're in the middle of fighting, it doesn't feel bad at all. It's like all part of the testing. Okay, so we got 2 more. This is gonna be the last. This is gonna be the last major one we're gonna do. It's gonna involve a lot of pieces to the puzzle. We're gonna worry about open. So this is something that you'll utilize when doing Zwerkhaus, big wind-up defensive measures, Unterhaus, things like that. This comes out the most from here. Again, weight's going to this leg first. So I'm putting most of this to leap out. I'm going to swing out, and I'm going to swing to where I should be looking at that wall, hips, everything, ass squared up to here. Weight goes to this leg, push, land, spin. Push, land, spin. It's okay if this leg slinks back a bit. It doesn't have to be perfect because you're trying to work it. Right? So for example, if me and Johan are fencing, where this can come out, I clash in with him, he pushes into me, I stand to get to here and use that open footwork. It sets me up for my grapples and throws. It's a good place to be. It's also, I get there, I'm doing an arm ball. Think about those are what you're doing with your body. Okay? And also we'll feel awkward doing this in a chain. That's okay. Take your time. 180. So like I'm just doing, when I'm doing this, I'm just setting up and I'm sitting here. And I have the ball. Yeah. I've done it. I've done it well. Doesn't mean it was good. But it takes seconds. In the moment of staying alive, it worked well. Good. Right? If you have trouble with it going backwards, just do it forwards, go in the opposite direction. There's no stress in doing this one backwards. We're not going to necessarily do it backwards. Right.
Right, okay.
Once you're all back on the line, we're going to the next piece. Alright. Last part of the puzzle. Should be a very simple one. Right? So again, we're all going to take up into our stance. This should be something that a lot of people should already know how to do, and if you don't, we'll work on it regardless. We're going to push off that back foot into just a nice little simple lunge. I'm not trying to do a deep lunge here, everybody. Right? We're just trying to make like a small elongation. You're going to bring that foot up, lunge, come up, lunge, come up, go all the way across, turn around, come back doing the opposite leg, boom. So I'm elongating to a good comfortable position, coming back to my stance, push off the back foot, come back to a comfortable stance. Boom, boom. Good. Don't worry about going fast, Mike. I do heel toe. I prefer heel toe because of the fact that I'm learning it. So the push to find that stone, redraw up, push, redraw up, push, land, right? Doing this over doing that is going to the next piece. Correct. I'm not trying to do this. I'm trying to do a structured piece, not a hip off. Once you get to that line, you need to get a swig of water, then mash. Start on the leg work. Some things we're going to start off with here. So I'm going to give a couple little notions about the tools that you're all using, kind of things. Some things are going to feel a little bit better depending on what type of fetter or simulator you're utilizing. Some will feel better, some will feel worse. If you're using any kind of I-beam construction, which is like the Insifers or Pokers or Ariuses, they generally take these lines a lot easier, so you feel like you have a solid wall and more control. Siggies, BBs require a little bit more input of the body for structure first. That's not a bad thing. Virginias are a pretty good middle ground where you should be pretty much okay. It's a hip thing. So certain things I might talk about in here, please be aware that you might need to adjust things depending on the tool you're using. Okay, does that make sense for everybody? All right, so First drill we're going to play with here is utilizing Absetzen, because I believe in start off on defensive measures first, and then we're going to work to offensive measures. So what's going to happen, Johan, be my partner for a second. So what I'm going to do for now is that Johan's going to be on his shoulder. I'm going to start off in a right foot forward long point position, a little bit further out of distance because I want to make an approach. Okay, so we're going to do that secret step we did, kind of come into range. So notice I only had to do one. If I do another one, I'm kind of in range. I want Johan to come to this opening where I can deal things. Where is he set up? Top right shoulder. He's waiting to seek this opening. If he cuts and I have this just out here, A, he's doing a shield, or he's an idiot and I can just stab him, or I can do some different things, right? So I want to bait him in with provoking. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to step forward and push this to the side into that flute, which opens this pump. Does that make sense? So from here, he's going to cut at me. I'm going to bring this across. I generally like to use a small step to set this up for as y'all are learning, like break this down in times. Notice this is in front of this hip. Point is towards the direction. If you're more or less up and down in the beginning because you're not used to this, guess what? This is still good. Are you alive? What's our number one rule in sword fighting? Don't die. Right? I love that everyone knows the answer even though we never brought it up yet. Right? You don't want to get hit by a steel bar. So being safe is more important. Fixing this to be out a little bit more, we can work that later. I'm not like, that's just called better habits. This is good because it still does its job. Right? So again, I'll set up, I'll do a step in, I'll boom, boom, boom. So what I'm generally doing is when I do the step off to catch, so I come into this flute, I bring this across into the hip to catch it, it's over this hip, this leg is coiled, ready to go. Hands extend before anything else. So the hands extend, I step into the bind. You can also step straight forward into a lunge. Both are okay. I prefer to step into it because I'm controlling the action. If something goes bad, I can at least keep running away. I'm alive. If you knock it really hard into their soul, they're flying backwards and you're just walking that way, look like it's a badass explosion behind you. Nothing? Okay. Thank you, Jesus.
You were busy conceptualizing.
That's fine. I was like, oh God.
You talk too fast.
Oh, do I need to slow down?
Yeah.
Okay.
Slow
So
monkey
we set
brain.
up secret what? Pull to food. Step to capture. Hands, step to. Right? Notice it's all generally ending up in this pocket. Okay? One more time. In that right flute, because everyone likes right, yeah, long point because everyone likes to go there. Pull forward, capture. Sometimes you don't have to step, right? This game is that first initial step playing that secret is trying to find your measure and your game, right? Because if I approach Johan and I'm here and I get this close and I pull forward, can I make that work? Right? So we have built-in measure guides because you're not going to survive. Does that make sense? So it starts to program you to be a little bit more cautious of what you're doing. Right?
Lord, don't we take a step forward on this or diagonal?
He's going to be generally doing a step more so of that transverse plane. Right? That way it's really seeking the side to capture it to make you come over for the sake of this drill. If he's coming straight down the line, it doesn't change much. Right? So if I'm here, he comes straight down the line. It all does the same things. We're going to work lateral. We're going to work the bigger motions, make y'all be safe with big actions. Does that make sense? Because then again, in the end, we get big, we can work it small, feedback. Does that make sense to everybody so far? Is there any questions on that so far?
So, when you're coming forward, you're bringing your back foot forward.
Yes, as I'm right foot, secret, and I just twist to open. That way we're in this nice right flute position, right? Everyone understands what right flute is. You can be out here with it even, like it's fine by me. The goal frame is that I'm bringing this shoulder open, sword is over here. He has clean line to come at me. Does that make sense to everybody? That's why this works. I opened up the box. So if I'm coming at y'all, right? Like I have this line covered. Boom. Oh look, you want this nice big pocket because like I want to win, I want to score, I'm going to leave his head open, right? And then boom, boom. Oh crap, how did I get sad? Well, he just played into my hand and like, you know, basically we're just the Romans luring in, come on in to the pocket and then surround and kill him, right? Think about force warfare or tactics for cavalry. You're baiting, luring in, surrounding, and murdering. Like,
Battle of Gaugamela. Battle of Gaugamela.
Does that make sense to everybody? Cool. So,
That's right.
how many people do we have? 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. All right, perfect. So we can actually do pairs. I like trinities too, but pairs work well. So, grab a friend, set up, and go to work. That being said, note what people are wearing for gear, right? Match with someone who does. If they don't have a jacket and all that, take your time. Even if they do, take your time. Control is more important than speed,
I have a question. So you want to
Stay straight for his message.
pretty much. Like I'm trying to, take the fork and put it straight to the weak and then roll into it. Ideally, a lot of the game of this comes out from most of your winding actions or anything is to generally try and have a mid to mid. Is kind of like your greatest success point is mid to mid, but reality, the more I can put this to this on him, the better. Mid to mid is about the furthest out I want it to ever be. Right? Is that making sense to everybody so far? Cool. So everyone feeling pretty comfortable with the absetzen section so far. So now we're going to add 1, 2. So you're going to abset, stab. So this is kind of a fun one for me. Johan. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make this single approach, right? Draw here. He's going to throw a cut to this side. I'm going to get to here. He's not going to wait. He's going to hurry up, pull off, throw another cut to the opposite side. We're going to capture, we're going to abset over here. Set up, stab in that. This will feel more awkward. You probably won't use the stabbing part of this as often, but if you can do the double protection or the double absets portions of this for me, you will stay alive a lot longer. What is our greatest goal in here?
Don't die.
Don't die. Right? So if I can absets and then stack them, fantastic, right? But 9 times out of 10 as you're getting this down, that will not succeed. That's okay because crossed-armed and gloves suck, right? But how many times do you cover and then a cut's coming over here and you're doing some wild thing and you still get hit or you don't feel like you understand what's happening and you're in a mad dash, right?
All the time. Oh my God.
Oh my God, I mean everyone should at some point have gone through that phase. And if you haven't, fight me, I will make sure you experience it,
Still going through it.
right? Like I have experienced that phase almost every place because there's always gonna be that one person that can get you with it, right? And if you can have this idea that I can be here, set, and then do whatever I need to, life is great. Right? If I can stay and be that Philly shell on that wall, like, life is good. So, sure thing on that. No, not a problem. So again, I'm going to approach in, pull here, he throws the cut, cover, he pulls off, throws the other cut. I just step in that opposite direction.
Okay.
Right? So lateral movements of this zigzag kind of work is where we're at, right? Because I'm trying to maintain a set range, stay alive, and then follow up with whatever I got to.
How important is that second step for the second line?
It's dependent on how much they move.
Okay.
You don't necessarily have to.
It's not even a step. It's just a...
It's not even generally a step. Like I kind of was here, and it's kind of like leaning the body, and it's just kind of like making sure this is a good place. If I came to here and I could just go right here, and this is enough, then I don't need to do anything. It's more about making sure you understand that you can, right? It's all about, so Johan and I's height disparity is a little bit different, right? John, come here. So I have somebody who's a slight bit taller than me onto the process, right? So if I come in, pull back, he throws the first one, I cover, throws the second one, I might want to be better, then I can step and go and do, right? Various degrees can change that depending on the opponent. First pace is number 1. Number 2, swords going. Move however you need to feel safe for the second part. If you can just lean over and you feel freaking great and you have it, do that. right? If you're like, I don't feel comfortable with how my body moves, make that extra step to stay alive, because then everything else will come out of it. Does that make sense? A lot of this stuff is about coverage for the body, and like, I'm telling you the concepts and how I like to envision this, but I'm not y'all, right? You all are going to move differently than I move, right? I don't care if we're exactly the same builds, things I've done in my life, how I'm built doing things, our bodies all will move slightly different. So we need to figure that out for ourselves based on a pattern or a concept to learn from. That is what fencing is about, right? Does that make sense to everybody? Everybody good with that? Okay, 5-5, keep flopping back and forth. Get to it, I'll make my rounds to everybody. Enjoying this, but how many of y'all really just want to hit people you don't know? Right, so we'll do one more drill. We'll run through it for probably about 10-15 minutes. That'll put us at an hour 15. We'll do our quick circle up, and y'all are fighting a few minutes extra. Sound good? So, what we're going to focus on here is Ansetzen, right? We focus a lot on the defensive measures first because the defensive actions are more important, right? I want you all to stay alive before I worry about you trying to go kill the other guy.
Always before.
Staying alive. So, I need a knife at some point. Unraveling everywhere. Take it off. I will eventually cut and burn it in some way. I know. It's a metaphor. Me, Johan. It's a metaphor. Just break the sword and becomes a master. Aisha. Quick, before I start breaking out chickens and start voodooing your asses for coffee. So what we're going to focus on here now is doing setting on, or the more offensive actions. So I generally like this idea of that I'm going to make this happen when somebody's retracting back, right? So they're out in a strong position, maybe I'm forcing onto them. They try to pull the sword back towards their shoulder or anything, and then I'm just driving it down the line. A lot of times people, when you start putting pressure, they weaken in any shape, or they start trying to reassert pressure, you can drive. It's a lot of things that we do. So what we're going to do here, we're both going to start in a neutralish stance where we're both got our points towards each other. Thank you. Right, so we're just kind of here. Neither one of us can hit. I'm putting a little pressure. Johan's putting a bit of pressure. Johan is going to either be trying to pull back a little bit to gain more control of my sword or any of that nature, like so you feel that slight deal. As soon as he starts to shift, I'm going to stab. And I'm going straight down the line initially. And once I feel contact with him, I step out into the cover. Right, so beforehand we were more so about like cover, hit. Right, now we're going to be hit, cover. Right? It's the same general rules, just reversed. Like the order's reversed. One, I'm all about being safe, then hitting. This one I care about, I'm going to hit you. Okay, now I need to make sure I stay alive in that process. Which is better when they are weakening, right? Or pulling back. If their energy is withdrawing or going to another place, it's a lot easier for me to act in that moment and then cover it. Number one way I really like this to come forward is so like Johan, I'm going to point forward, Johan comes forward in the flute on his right side. So any side he wants to do, let's say he just tries to change over anything. He does anything to go to that place. The second you gave me ground, I'm just going to go. Because you gave up. Measure. You're changing, you're moving your energy. Okay. Right? You can do this from cutting actions. You can do this from all kinds of places. That takes time and experience. Yes, John?
So pretty much as soon as the directionality from the bind is not towards me, that's a good time to
Yes. The second you feel pulling or shifting coming off, or hell, even if they're not even, let's say we're not even in there, we're here. Let's say Johan's on his shoulder in Bon Top, and I'm here. Let's say Johan wants to change to another guard. Pick a guard, Johan, there's my shot. Because where was his energy going? Not towards me. It was going in a different direction. So I have an opportunity to go forward. I need to be aware of where he's going because I need to cover in that direction after I hit him. Does that make sense? Like, so how many of y'all will sit there and you're fencing and you're like, you just fling a thrust with everything you got and pray to God you don't get doubled, right? How many people have done that, right? Lots of hands should raise. We've all done that deal.
I'm scared of that.
Failure to withdraw.
Yeah, right? this is the idea of how I can do this in a safer fashion without just like, right? Because even if I don't hit you with the thrust, do you think you're going to like that idea that something's flying at you when you're not ready? No. And so you're going to deal with it. And if you deal with it, then it's like, ha! Right? And you stay in control. You stay ahead of the game. Right? That is the game plan. I do not need to kill you with every move. I just need to control what you're doing, and there's no safe word. Except for in tournaments, the safe word's called always listen to the safe word. Right? If you're too young to understand that, please stay innocent. So, for the setup for this drill, what we'll do, we're going to set up into this position. We'll be in just a right foot forward because this is a very easy place for people to operate from. Johan's going to put his sword to mine, blah, blah, blah. We're both here. He's going to start pulling it back towards his shoulder. That's all he's doing, and as he does, I'm going to try to lunge for the thrust. And as that happens, I'm going to step through to make sure that he goes. Yes, sir.
So this is all about just feeling where your opponent's sword is going.
Yep. Welcome to Ansetzen. Setting on because I need to feel where he's going. Because if I just do it blindly, can you cover what you don't know? Right? If you have no idea what's happening and you're just blitzing out there, can you cover that?
Technically, yes, probably not.
Technically, right, you have a 1 in 3 chances of doing so. Yes, sir.
So there are certain specific, or more than enough specific situations when you're sparring with another person where you are in the bind and there's not enough time to feel where your opponent is going. Is that just going to take time and experience to judge that, or?
So, yes, it will take time and experience, but B, the first drills we did, where I worry about pressing it off and then working, that is where you work that in.
Okay.
Until you can feel in control, safe hit. Once I feel I know it, hit. That's why they teach Absetzen generally first. It is the more important thing. It's the one that stayed with the tradition the longest. Right? Meyer has Absetzen. The Absetzen from Meyer from his flute position, they throw a cut at me and I cover with a protection. And for him, you step and then you hit with the flick, right? Because he's trying not to kill his training partners with thrusts. All I do is to change the tempo actions of that, trying here, hand first and then step, and I'm stabbing him just like we did. So Absetzen stayed more relative, longer time frame. That's why I think it's the more important than Ansetzen. Ansetzen you just kind of pick up with time and you get better at it. But being able to be safe and drive in is more important. Does that make sense to everybody, or does that sound pretty clear? Cool. So let's play with this game for a little bit. We'll run it, do 5-5. I'll give you about 10 minutes. We'll do our circle up, and then we'll let you all get to getting a little bit more fighting before the next class. That way you're not rushing to get one fight.
Good lad and broadsword.
So, this is where we're going to do the positive and negative piece. Again, like I said, there is no general deal. I really do, like, depending on the time frames of how I run classes, can get really highly detailed. We can kind of try and make it fun. My goal for this one was to get through 3 steps to where we could get to having a little bit more fight time, as most people were just getting suited up for the next class started. Half-hour times are not a lot. So, we'll go through this piece. I expect some negatives, I expect some positives, life is good, right? Positive and negative, we're going to start us off, we'll go this way and we'll finish with you, sir.
Positive. Very few instructions. And exactly what to do at what time. Negative, I would have made everybody switch partners in between.
Yeah, fair.
Get different body styles.
Fair notion.
Positive, I like the chaining the footwork and doing the footwork and tying it to the sword. I would say negative, not on you, but just more time of drilling to get the stuff down.
Oh yeah, I have an 8-hour class on this. Like, it's a hell of a day. But man, can you thrust by the end. So, awesome. So,
Positive, this was something that I wanted to work on. Negative, too many people here. One more thing.
fair. Yeah.
Why do people show up?
Oh no. I'll just have to come back. Oh shit. My show.
Positive, the instruction was very detailed, and when somebody had questions, you expounded upon that in detail and made sure that they understood. Negative, just what Tyler said, like there's not enough time to get stuff down.
Yeah. Mike.
Good class.
That's
the negative.
that's fine.
That's the negative. What's the positive?
That says the
Good class.
recording
And they
man.
said all the negatives for me. Move forward. Awesome. Buster?
Very practical. Seems like it'll be really useful. Negative, but didn't work every time. But I think that's one.
That's part of training, right?
Yeah.
That's why we're here to drill it.
Like the second part of the training, that was really positive. Negative, I'd say not enough time either. One addition, I don't want you guys thinking this is hooky spooky Jedi stuff. But there
great.
was one time you had mentioned how do you get to feel the blade more. I've actually blindfolded myself and had the other guy not being blindfolded, fighting. And try and slowly. Don't try. No one's trying to hit each other.
Done entire workshops.
Yeah, but you blindfold yourself, and now you start to feel that sword and feel that pressure a little bit more, and then take that blindfold off and try to apply those lessons that you learned. So it was helpful for me. I know we've done it a couple times. Very helpful. So something to think about.
Come on, show.
Positive. I thought the examples were great. I felt like I walked away really understanding everything. Negative, quote unquote, and this may be very personal, what I'd love to have is some kind of very theoretical overview of what we're trying to accomplish and in general how these work, and then work into the specifics afterwards.
Awesome. That's a good notion. I like that. John.
Positive. Josh, you're just a handsome young man.
Fuck off.
Stop trying to suck. I love the breakdown of the steps and starting with the defense. Because I know, especially for me, I just want to get that point in, and I don't care about what happens, and that leads to a lot of doubles, failures to the drawing set.
Or I just add that.
Negatives, if you rotated the opposite way when you're visiting people, then you can see the people you didn't see the first time around, etc.
Yeah.
And changing partners is a good idea too.
Lots of variables in that, but yeah.
No offense.
Take all the offense.
I will. I'll find it later.
Good, thank you.
Do great. I'll act for you. I enjoyed the topic. It's a new topic I haven't heard about. I would like kind of the bounce to be kind of more contextual. Hey, you use this way. We had this in very isolated, but how in the big scene of a sparring is it work? I've been trained. I can kind of see where we fit in.
Yeah.
But I had like here's an actual practical. Go through a few things. Here's a setup, and there you go.
I appreciate it.
Positive, good progression as always. I like that we built preparatory pieces. There was nothing elaborate with the handwork, so focus on the footwork and fitting everything in time, then jumping straight to the drills. A+ on constraints and all that. Negative, more of a potential expansion on anybody bringing this to their clubs. If your people get good at these concepts and pieces, you can build decision games out of this to where you meet and now whoever's doing the drill needs to decide, do I go forwards or do I have to strengthen first? So give your people specific actions they attack or they retract, and then you got to act in that time.
Yeah, good. Keep on building.
Positive, the troubleshooting was really good. Things like not quite catching their blade the way it's supposed to. Figuring out the mechanics of how to touch that up is really well handled. Negative, I'm sure it's really negative per se, but on the second one, on the one where you're the one where you're responding to their action from the bind. It seemed like when we were doing it, there was a little bit of variation in what exactly they did, whether they were degraduating or if they tried to do a disengage, and that changed a little bit. That might be worth addressing.
Yeah. Good. I'm glad that there was play there. That's the point.
Positive, these are moves that I might actually use in a fight. And negative, we didn't really learn any counters.
Oh, they counter each other. Oh, that's part. You gotta go for the thrust while you're throwing sticks. You go for the wind over right. Great, it all goes against each other. That's literally the next hour of the class. Fun. We don't have that kind of time. And I want to do it. Finish this off.
Well, at least positive for me is that going back into footwork, I always struggle with footwork. No matter how good I can go with the sword, I always mess up my feet, so I always enjoy that. Negatives, just like Derek, switching partners, different encounters, variation, dealing with someone shorter than you or taller than you. That's done getting beat up by Derek.
That's fair. Don't pick him next time.
I didn't really pick him. Everyone's gone. I'm like, shit, okay.
Nah, not Derek again. Shit. Awesome, guys. Thank you all very much. That being said, give a little bit of extra time. Get your fights in.